What up? Welcome to the official DoD Podcast.
Presents the official Dads of Destiny podcast. The only place where dads can be 100% correct 100% of the time. Don't tell your mother.
What up? Welcome to episode 4 of the official Dads of Destiny podcast. I'm your host, TwoLoudtx. Here with me today, my co-host and guardian slayer himself, Nolxero. What up, buddy?
Not much, just enjoying Destiny still.
And wearing his new extra small DoD logo t-shirt to show off his physique, POPEBEAR. What's up, buddy?
How you doing? So yeah, I got this new t-shirt, DoD logo shirt from Nate Serber. He did our logo designs for the website, and he was kind enough to send me a t-shirt. And if you want to get a t-shirt from him, we've got a space on the website that we're going to be putting up where you'll be able to order one, and or you could email him directly. It's Nate Serber, SURBER @gmail.com.
Doesn't that guy know what he did by giving you a t-shirt?
he basically, fed my addiction. Is basically what he's doing.
Yeah, it's like an alcoholic addiction.
Mm-hmm.
He's just feeding it to you.
So you don't feed the stray dog.
He's an enabler, is what he is. Nate, you're an enabler.
Right.
So well, Nate, thanks for my shirt as well. And actually, Pope's is not an extra small. It wasn't that tight. It was just that he was pulling it back with his shoulders so he could try to act like he had some muscles here on the podcast. So, and then last but not least, joining us today, a man that forgot to sleep just like the rest of us, and he's turned out to have a pretty decent guardian. Although I'm not sure what he's going to do if he gets a job. But here he is, Mr. Hambone. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, guys? Thank you for having me.
Well, we're glad to have you. And, as I said, I know you're losing sleep. I've been losing sleep. I know Nolxero's been losing sleep. And I know POPEBEAR's been losing sleep. So I've been functioning like 4 hours of sleep a night. And I believe that it is finally catching up with me. I know that me and Nolxero, we used to stay up late and play games all the time for the past 10 years of our life, and it has really caught up with me since I've gotten older. So I don't know about you, Pope, but I'm feeling it a lot more.
Yeah, I got a early morning wake-up call. I got to be up and at 'em at 5:30 in the morning and leaving for work by 6:30, and sometimes going to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning and getting those quality 3.5 hours of sleep just doesn't cut it.
I'm still on at 6 a.m. I'm still finishing. I'm getting on with our South African guys at 6 a.m. Okay?
Oh my
That's
God.
my second rotation that I'm
no
working
question,
on.
man. I mean, I call you guys. I call you and Nolxero, and you're like, oh yeah, we got off at like 9 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah, that's an average night. That's a Tuesday, bro. Tuesday.
That is a Tuesday.
Yeah, it is a Tuesday. And I called Hambone the other day. I said, hey man, what's going on? I'm on my way home from work. You gonna get on tonight? He's like, yeah, man, I'm just waking up though. Let me get up and take a shower. I'm like, you're just getting up at 6 o'clock at night.
I got to keep my nighttime schedule tight. You know what I'm saying? I get on around 6, 7.
Well, I know.
Then
I know everybody else around the
night.
world is enjoying playing with you, man. So you and Nolxero as well. You guys are definitely spreading the love. I mean, I'm staying up as late as I can, but I cannot. I think I gotta cut out the 4 hours a night sleep pretty soon and actually get at least 5 or 6. So.
Yeah, my time is coming to an end too.
Of course, we all say that until we start a new character, right? Until we all start
Tonight.
a new Guardian. So, yeah, exactly.
Well, it just depends what day of the week it is. I mean, the other night I was about to go to bed and I was like, "Oh, dude, but Zer will be here in like 2 hours. I'm gonna stay."
Exactly. Right. Might as well stay up and play some PvP.
Yeah, I know Hambone was kind of, he's like, all right, well, I got like an hour and 25 minutes, and Zer will be in town, and then
That's
I'll get
it.
the new bounties, and then I'll be up till 10 o'clock. And
Mhm.
yeah,
Right. That's
I'll have
exactly
them
right.
all.
right. Well, I asked David last night, I said, hey, how late did you stay up with me? He said, how early did I go to bed? I said, yeah. He's like, oh, about 7 a.m. I was like, good God, man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, guys, gather your beverages of choice, and let's get started with episode 4.
Bottles up, Guardians.
Please drink responsibly. Silly kids, drinking is for adults only. Don't drink and ride your Sparrow. Drinking has been known to increase your aim. Individual crucible results may vary. If you have a buzz lasting longer than 4 hours, contact the speaker immediately. No lawyers were harmed in the making of this disclaimer.
All right, Hambone, since you're the new boy on the block here, tell us, what are you enjoying today as a beverage?
Oh, today I'm sipping on some Gentleman's Jack with a little bit of Coke in it, and just creating a nice mellow ambiance in the room, you know.
I got you. Is that approvable, Pope? Is that?
Yeah, that's all right. I would have liked to have seen a little bit, maybe some aged barrel whiskey, maybe some top shelf stuff. But if he's going to be
my
rolling
gosh.
the Gentleman Jack, I'm okay with that.
I'm on a budget, man.
Didn't you hear me say he don't have a job right now? Come on.
Well, you still got to get you still got to go top shelf when you're drinking.
Oh,
It was
man.
situated on the top shelf when I bought it. So that's good enough for me for the night.
Well, what about you, Pope? What manly beverage do you have for yourself today?
Well, today I'm drinking another microbrewery. It's one of my one of the group of guys that we game together. It's Freedivers and G Master's favorite drink. It's Pliny the Elder.
Oh,
And,
big ups to Savvy.
Yep. Savvy's
Oh, man.
drinking Pliny the Elder, and it's a Russian River Brewing Company if you want to look it up. But
So
it is the best beer I've had, and it's phenomenal. But that's what I'm drinking tonight.
Well, I'll continue on with my probably what you will call a woman's drink. I got a little bit of Smirnoff vodka and Red Bull sitting in front of me, but that's to help me kind of stay awake here as we're going to head out into the vault tonight, so that you and Nolxero can help me and Hambone along since you guys finished it up without us. So
I'm
all right.
sorry about that, but I have to tell you that it was epic, and we're gonna love doing it again with you.
well, and what about you, Nolxero? What you drinking tonight?
For the first time on this podcast, an alcoholic beverage, and it's nothing that y'all will like, but it's Mike's Hard Lemonade. Well, actually, strawberry lemonade.
Oh yeah, there you go. Sticking with me.
Suck
I
it,
know.
Pope.
They taste good. They taste
Well,
good.
I actually got some community feedback from one of our members, Mega Muto, and he's a PS4 player, and he wrote us about this little segment we do here, and he says, "Bottles up, loving the podcast. Propers to POPEBEAR on the Stone mention. I just last night had a Stone Enjoy by 9/20/14 Bomber. They're all dated since fresh beer has to be drank soon. So I also have a Stone collaboration Unapologetic IPA waiting in the fridge for me to enjoy next time I log on, and that's a good beer. Good job, Mega. That you are picking some good beer. I'm lucky enough to have Whole Foods nearby, and that's absolutely insane selection of craft beer to choose from. So what are you thinking? What are you drinking? And story time are my favorite for the podcast. Hope to keep it up. POPEBEAR, you're amazing with your beer selection. I think I just added that last piece, but yeah.
It sounds like it fit.
Yeah,
I don't know if I can trust men that are so happy about having stones.
Well,
man.
we appreciate it, guys. Keep the feedback coming in, and we do these different sections because we hope you guys enjoy them and have something to relate to. So keep shooting us what you're drinking and what you're enjoying as well. So this week was a busy week for Bungie, and they released a lot of information. We saw a lot of stuff. Starting off, I think it was with Monday. We saw some 1.0.1.4 patch notes come out. So let's get into that first and see where that leads us. We got basically what it looks like, and from what I understand and everything that I've read, this was basically to stop the glimmer runs. Is that right, Nolxero?
Yeah, it seems like they wanted to stop glimmer runs, which I'm not exactly sure why, since glimmer doesn't do much in the game. Right now, the only thing I spend any glimmer on would be like ammo packs, and that's really it, because I don't have any faith in the Cryptarch anymore, so I don't spend money with him.
Well, I know that you and Pope were using a lot of glimmer at first, trying to rank up the Cryptarch along with all the encrypted engrams. I know myself, even using the glimmer on the Cryptarch didn't get me very far. It was a lot more efficient to just use your time and go find more engrams to get him to encrypt, so that you could level him up quicker.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Using glimmer on him was more of like you turn in a bunch of engrams, and then you're like 60, 70, maybe 100 points away. You would just use the glimmer to kind of push you over the edge to get the pack out of the mailbox.
Right.
Well, I think it's important to note that the Cryptarch is he got taken to the woodshed by Bungie, and he's going to come back. He's going to come back next week looking a lot different.
That was a later on this week patch that they gave us, which we were all happy to hear about. But as far as glimmer goes for you, Hambone, what do you think about taking those glimmer runs out?
Oh, man, I love the glimmer runs. I personally use them a lot. I was pretty upset to hear about it, and like you, I didn't really see the necessity of it because there's not much you do with the in-game currency being glimmer. If we were farming for Ascendant Shards, I could see why they would take it out, but not too sure why they felt that the glimmer run was a priority to get out of the game.
Which they did take the shards out later on, right? Whenever we got the
right.
Yeah, we got the what is that? The Queen's Wrath that came out this week as well, which was the other thing that came out on Tuesday, and they basically, everybody was like, oh yay, we're so excited, maybe we're gonna get some more story or whatever it was, and it comes out that it's just bounties, so we all get them, and we're all a bit disappointed because we see what gear she sells, and we're like, okay, well we're all 26, 27, 28s. And so, what are we going to do with this blue gear she's offering? And I know I called you and Nolxero, like I do always, and you guys are obviously the experienced ones at this point, at 6 o'clock at night on Tuesday, because you played all morning long. And you tell me, it's all right, though. If you break down her rewards after you go on her missions, you get shards. So that's what you need to upgrade your legendaries and your exotic armor, and so therefore, we were doing that. We were running and doing that, and then the next thing we knew, they took that out as well. So
Gone.
Which doesn't make a lot of sense, because I think they should have nerfed how many you were getting. You were getting 3 per breakdown,
right?
Which does seem a little excessive. But as far as like no shards, I still think you should get like 1 or 2. I understand that they're trying to. I'm sure Bungie saw like 28s, 29s popping like all of a sudden. It was real fast, and I'm like, what is going on? Oh my god, they're breaking down these legendaries and they're using the shards from them, and they're like probably in panic mode because they're like, everybody's gonna be a level 30 by tomorrow. And
I think it's important to point out, I think that there is a good population here in in the dads community that has not hit the light cap yet. And they're still learning about how to get above 20. And so take it from us that are struggling between that 25 to 30 level, is that when you get, the only way to level up at that point is to get legendary or exotic armor and to rank it up. And one of the biggest hurdles to ranking it up, after you've collected all the spin metal, after you've collected all the spirit blooms and all the other things that help you rank up that gear, you also need to find these ascendant shards for armor and ascendant materials or ascendant energy for the weapons. And the only place you can really do that is by either breaking down a legendary or exotic gear, or
Not the
getting it
queens.
in, or getting it in a drop. The problem is that the Queen's Wrath, you were getting legendary drops back to back, and Bungie had to nerf that, and that's what we're talking about.
And to clarify, the reason why we were all breaking it down is because it was giving us the same items over and over. So basically, you picked up her bounty, you finish the bounty, you get basically a token or a ticket, right, to go run one of her missions, and her missions are just the same missions that we run, but it's just a random mission. Yeah, a random mission in the game with modifiers. You go and you play it, and you're done. And when you finish, you're guaranteed a legendary item. But the case is, and tell me if I'm wrong, 99.9% of the time, you get the same items, either a helmet or a chest piece. Everybody's gotten those, right?
Right.
Every single time I got a helmet or a chest piece, except I got a sniper rifle. I forgot the name of it, but it was painted with her. Yeah, the Supremacy. There you go. And it was painted with her logo on it, which is very nice. I like it.
Yeah, and I got her ship, which was cool. But once they came out and they took away the Ascendant Shards from breaking them down, everybody basically stopped running her bounties and her missions.
Right.
And
what's the point?
Well, the only point really, I mean, for me personally, after I got the ship, the only point is maybe I'll get another legendary item from her, like maybe her cloak, or her little as I heard today referred on a podcast, the Guardian butt cover, for my Titan. But I those things interest me to think maybe I could get that, because not many people have it. Just like not many people have the sniper rifle that Nolxero got, or the plane that I got. Not that obviously this game hates me because it keeps giving me items I don't really care about, that are cool. But that is the only drive to me, is that maybe I could get another cool item that's rare. And with all this movement of exotics and legendaries, and everybody obviously that plays as much as us, that's in our group, that's up near 25 and above already. All of us are just seeing a repeat of gear. I mean, even when it comes to exotics or legendaries, we're like, we get it at first, and we're like, oh, hey, look what I got, and then all of a sudden it's like we play with another group of people, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, you have it too, cool.
Right.
Oh, you have a better modifier on it than I do. Oh, that stinks.
Me and Hambone's loot is almost identical. I mean, me and him have so many of the same guns that we could interchange our characters, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what's kind of disappointing to me about this so far, and that's the only thing that intrigues me, like I was saying about the Queen's Wrath, is that I can get one of those items that makes me at least look different. If it's not, obviously her weapons we've seen aren't that much better. They're blue items. So, but they're kind of cool because, obviously they're her purple color, and they're pretty evident that they're her items when you see them. Right. Just like everything that's related to her. But it's just, it's kind of aggravating to me right now that everything we get, legendary items, it's just like what happened, whenever Zerg came to town this week, and everybody got that, the auto rifle, and here we are with the auto.
I'm going to take a slightly different stance on this. I think that for the average player, and I want to say that we're probably not the average player. That I think we put in a few more hours than the average player.
You may be an average player, but I'm definitely not.
Yeah. So there is a whole bunch of people that the timing of this is just right, and and I'm really excited when I sit in a PvP match, and you see all 6 guys drop down. I'm seeing a lot of diversity there in colors and armor and gear, and so I still see the value in it. I know that when you get into the grind, it can seem repetitive and that you're not getting that diversity, but I think that's just because our focus is so narrow on people that play ungodly amounts of time.
Right.
But let me pose this as the counter to that. If every single vendor in town sells legendary or better, and you have to be a rank 2 to get her legendary or her blue items, and level 2 to get all the other stuff as well, what's the drive to buy her blue versus a legendary.
Yeah, like why rank her up, then go rank up another faction? There's no drive to that. I mean, besides she's limited, but if you can already go purchase a legendary item when you need it, why use her?
I guess it's in the hopes of them expanding on the equipment that she has, so that by the time they bring in new materials to the tower, you're already rank 2, you're ready to go, you already have the emblem, the shaders, and everything like that.
Yeah, the only thing I could assume is that if there's someone out there that they spent their marks on, say, armor or weapons, her stuff sells for glimmer. So that would be the only thing I could see is someone's like, oh, I have all this armor now, I'll get my light level up, and I don't have a very good weapon. Okay, so pick up hers for glimmer.
Right. My biggest problem with the Queen's Wrath is that if you have a new guy coming in who doesn't have a legendary helmet or a legendary chest piece, sometimes you're still not getting those items. You might get a helmet the first time you do the mission, and the second time you get a helmet again. And now that they've taken the Ascendant Shards out, for a guy who's literally just looking for a chest piece, there's no recourse, there's no reward other than a couple, sapphire wires if you're a hunter, or whatever your hydronic essence or whatever it is. So there's no real reward for those guys to keep going through to get the pieces that they need.
Right. Well, I mean, like I said, we started the week out with them getting rid of the glimmer runs, right? And we basically ended the week and they got rid of not only glimmer runs, but they got rid of the Cosmodrome one and only that we knew at the time, cave that everybody was farming at. And so, Nolxero even mentioned this to me today. He's like, okay, so they're taking all this stuff away, which is fine. And it doesn't bother me, right? It gets, like, it was a bit aggravating maybe sometimes whenever people would ask me, hey, you want to come play? And I'm like, oh, I'm on the cave,
Right. I'm in the hole, man.
And it's better. It's better that we play the game they want us to play it. But people are always going to find those type of things and do them. But if you're going to take them out, tell me how I'm guaranteed at least a legendary drop. I don't care, even if it's my class at this point. I just want to.
And I think they have. And if you take a look at the patch notes, I think that's fundamentally what they're doing there. They're taking away the loot runs. They're taking away the legendary decoding of the Ascendant Shards and materials, and they're saying, okay, the Cryptarch now, legendary engrams will produce legendary or better quality, including materials and exotics. They will. Now it's no longer, what do I got to do, to get the Cryptarch to give me a legendary item, and that frustration. When you get a legendary drop, you will get a legendary or better item in the Cryptarch. And I think that's something that the community has been asking, and an example of how Bungie is seeing what their community wants and responding to it. Rare engrams will produce rare or better quality items. And I think that that's a direct response to the loot cave system. Get people into the strikes and then if you look at strikes, daily heroic, weekly heroic, and Vanguard Tiger playlist activities will include rare and legendary engrams. So they're telling you they want you to play the game. So if you get a legendary drop from those missions, you will get something legendary at the tower.
Right. No, and I agree. I mean, they after they gave us the patch notes at the beginning of the week, and then they gave us the Queen, and then they told us they were going to fix it. They also gave us the dev notes, which went through a whole bunch of stuff, including that, which we got more detail on what Pope just mentioned on Friday, is what when they came out and told us, hey, a purple's going to give you a purple or higher, blue's going to give you a blue or higher, and so on and so forth. So now we don't have to worry about getting the purple when we got those rare drops, which I thought the drop rate of a purple was fine, right? I thought, hey, grinding. Oh, I got a purple. Cool. I'm excited. But what was hard about it was you got the purple and you took it back and it was a blue, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, Hambone, what did they say at the end of their comment you were saying earlier about if you already have your engrams?
Yeah, they were saying if you already have purple engrams, by the time this patch hits next week, you will not be able to guarantee yourself a purple item. They will still most likely turn out to be blue. So Bungie ends their comments by saying, "You might as well cash them in because we all know that they're already blue anyway." So yeah, it's a very well-known thing. But my question is, does the guarantee of a legendary with a legendary engram make the game less interesting? If there's not the chance of rolling a blue or getting a lesser item, does that make it less fun for you guys?
No,
Well,
because
I think you can get it better. You have the chance of rolling something better. The very least you're going to get is a legendary.
what it will do is you'll be excited to see purple hit the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at Diablo 3, whenever that orange light flies up into the air or green light flies up in the air, those are legendaries or set items, and it may not be what you want, but you just got a set item or you just got a legendary. No questions asked.
You at least feel like you're getting a reward for all the time you're putting in.
Right.
Okay.
And so as soon as it hits the ground, you're like, oh my God. And so even if they make it a lot harder to get legendary engrams, it'll still be that's actually what they should do. They should make it harder to get legendary engrams, implement them into different parts of the game. And that way, when you see them, you'll be like, oh, thank God. Instead of right now where it's like, let's go back to the tower and see how crappy this roll is.
Right.
Yeah, or get like us and be like, hey, hold it till you get like 10, and then just hammer the X button because it's worked for us a couple times.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean that's the theory we got
superstition.
too. Yeah, where it's like hit the X button as fast as you
smash
can.
it real fast.
So I mean, yeah, I think it's going to make you feel like a satisfaction, right? Like, hey, oh man, I got a purple drop. It's been a few because. Nolxero, tell me again. Didn't they come back in Diablo 3 and they set it to where it's like at least every hour you get a drop now, right?
Yeah, what they did was they messed up where they had to take out a lot of legendary drops, but they did it to where people that were playing and they couldn't find any legendaries, they basically put like a behind the scenes timer that said, hey, if this person doesn't get a legendary after 2 hours, or I think actually it was an hour, they're like, throw them a bone, give them a legendary.
But it wasn't always a better legendary.
No,
it was just a legendary.
It was a chance that you might advance your character. That's it.
Right.
Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But at least it was worth something, because it was like, if you played for 6 hours on any game that you're grinding, and then you're looking for some piece of loot, and 6 hours go by and you don't get anything that gives you hope towards going to that bigger, better character, it's just like, what am I doing this for?
Yeah. Right. And I think the other thing I think they mentioned in the dev notes is something Pope actually brought up to me, Nolxero, right after the game came out, and it's the fact of whenever you defeat a boss, what does everybody do? They run to the area and take that area that the boss was standing on or was at, right, or where his body laid at, and run around on it, right, or dance on it in Destiny, in Destiny terms. So we would we all Pope mentioned, hey man, after you do this, wouldn't it be so satisfactory to actually get your loot, similar to what you do in Diablo, right, where you run up, or WoW, where you run up and grab your loot after you finish it. And they actually mentioned, hey, look, we've been so busy building these systems, which is something Pope mentioned last week. They've been building these systems, but now they're going to listen to the community on how to make the game better. They've really established a great system here. I think we can all agree to that. And they've established a great architecture for the game. And now what they're doing is they're fine-tuning it so that it's really, really enjoyable and it's really fun to play. And just like any other game that is going to come out these days that evolves, right, with the community, and it evolves with the ideas.
It's like they built the guitar and now they're just trying to find the right tune.
Right.
And once they do that, they find their good tune and they add some story, it's going to be a completely different game than was reviewed, a couple weeks ago.
Right.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Absolutely. And so, Pope, you were saying, you run up there, you grab it, the satisfaction that's there,
Well, and that's really the psychology of gaming, and I think that they made some errors on satisfaction of loot. On a loot-based game like this, there's a visceral need to get that, to take that ground and get that loot, and I feel like when with these changes that they're making, if you go running up and you grab that purple engram, and you could be getting an exotic or a legendary item. That's just where it's got to be, man. And I got to tell you, when we beat the raid, it was truly it was a truly underwhelming experience to beat the raid boss and have nothing drop.
Not only that, but it wouldn't even stop. Like, we were just stuck in the raid.
Right. The game glitched. They were supposed to fix that, but the game glitched. The time stopped still, and the game didn't end. So
right.
It was difficult to get to a point where you would work so hard to achieve it and then not get that reward. And it would have literally have been if a legendary drop had dropped to the ground, and I knew that when I grabbed that, something was going to pop up on my screen. That's what I needed.
Well, even if you grabbed, as Nolxero when we were talking about this off the air, if you even grabbed a generic color engram that had a bunch of items in it, right? Even 2 or 3, and it could be a couple greens, it could be a couple blues, and maybe you either get one legendary or you get one exotic, right? Even if you knew that chance was there, that's where it's at. In those dev notes that they came out with this week, they had a whole site that says reward celebration, and real quick, he says, basically they've. During development, we sometimes prioritize making a system functional over celebrating its rewards. For example, the Vault of Glass contains highly coveted loot, but the actual moment of reward happens without fanfare and can be easily missed. So, right. They're getting it. Okay, so and they're understanding. Okay, hey, look, we messed up here. And even Bungie's saying, look, we were too busy prioritizing other things, and we didn't realize this needed to happen. And now we see it, and now we're working on it. And so, they list a whole bunch of stuff. They go through the social aspect of voice communication, which I know Pope is pumped about, talking some smack to some 12-year-olds.
Absolutely.
In the Crucible, and so am I. Don't get me wrong. And then even strikes, making strikes feel like they're worth more. Working on some balancing things, exotic weapons actually feeling powerful, right? Because that's the other problem is, and Nolxero mentioned it when we were playing tonight, that you get an exotic, and until you start leveling it up, until you get to that 3rd or 4th tier of leveling it up, it just feels like a good gun or a good weapon. It doesn't feel like an awesome weapon. And I know with my Gallahorn, my rocket launcher, until it got to the part where it actually gives out multiple little seedings that blow up. Yeah, the cluster bombs. Then I didn't really enjoy it, but then it helped us get through the weekly, on the hardest difficulty because of those cluster bombs.
Right.
So, they went through that. They talk about, and believe it or not, brace yourself for everyone that loves auto rifles, but they're going to get nerfed. So they're going to get nerfed, and scout rifles are going to get increased. So we all know that Kyle the Assist is going to be very, very, very happy about this because he always is complaining when he plays with us. I just want to use a scout rifle. I want my BR. Why can't they just put a Halo BR in here? And I'm like, Kyle, it's because it's not Halo.
It's not Halo.
Also, they're balancing it because right now I think you can agree, POPEBEAR and Nolxero, and in fact all of us, that because we've been playing a lot of PvP lately, that if you're against an auto rifle at any close to mid-range, you have no chance with a scout rifle.
Right. I've been playing a lot of PvP, like you said, and while I find myself as effective at slaying with the scout rifle as I do with the assault rifle, I hear other people complaining about it. No, I'm just kidding. It's horrible. Like you can't win gun battles with a gun that shoots bullets and at range, a lot of bullets at range, and those bullets don't dissipate in power. Right. So they're really if the dev notes focus on that, they're saying that there's going to be a damage reduction with the auto rifles at range, and I think that's at range. So I think that's the key aspect to it. At medium to long range, you should win that DMR battle, that scout rifle battle. You should also be winning that battle with a pulse rifle or the BR, right?
Or a hand
You
cannon.
should be winning that, and I think that they're making the adjustments that need to be made.
Right.
I agree 100%. We were doing bounties right before the podcast tonight. me and Troy, and being that they just sold the Soros regime at Zur, it's a great auto rifle, and I feel like the game pushes me into using auto rifles because the hand cannons are fun, the pulse rifles, the scout rifles are all fun, but we were trying to do 20 headshots with a scout rifle, and every time I got into a one-on-one fight and trying to get a headshot with a scout rifle versus a Soros regime, there's no way. You can't win that fight. There's just no possible.
And they weren't like close-up fights. These were mid to
long
long-range
range.
fights.
I was trying to make
Right
sure
across
we were
the
at
board.
long range. Right. I was trying to put myself in that position to have the upper hand, and there's just no way.
So is
no
this
way.
where I insert that I got those headshots in 3 games?
Right.
No.
Well,
No.
well, I got
I
we
did
did
that
as well.
before the
believe it or
Soros
not,
regime
but
was out. Now that the Soros regime is out, it's a little different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right, and I think it's the rate of fire with these scout rifles as well. Like even if they were to up the rate of fire, I think that would actually put the scout rifles in a little better position. I'm lucky enough to have an exotic one. I have the multi-tool, and the rate of fire is a bit better, and the reload is 12 times better than your average
Right.
scout rifle.
Right.
So
Well-
that's huge.
Well, the one thing I'd like to see in the scout rifles, and agree with me if you would, is if you played Halo, there seemed to be like it was almost like a invisible melody going on when you were pulling the trigger of a DMR or a BR. Like there was like this
right.
almost like a metronome
rhythm.
of like this is when I pull. Like you just
Yeah,
had
there's
that
a rhythm.
down.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I wish that was more prevalent with the scout rifles or
Oh, I agree.
Well,
with
they
the
don't.
pulse rifles.
They don't have. There's a key difference here for this game in its creation over Halo. In Halo, at least not in Halo 3, but in the others, they focused on reticle bloom, where the DMR had to be fired in a very rhythmic pattern because you learn that pattern because the reticle bloom would not allow you to place an accurate shot without timing it. So the difference is that I found is that you can snapshot a scout rifle, and I don't know if I should be telling people this, but you can snapshot a scout rifle by doing a left trigger quick scope between rounds. So when I shoot a scout rifle, I do a zoom in, zoom out, left trigger snap in between the firing rounds, and it destroys. It snaps back on the player and gets more headshots. So there is a way of setting up that rhythm, but it's not done for you. You've got to do it. You got to do it on your own, and you got to do it using the the aim assist that is built into the game, and it's almost like quick scoping, but with a scout rifle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of like how Call of Duty does it in their campaign.
Yeah.
I wish they would tone down the auto aim functionality a little bit, mainly because like if I'm aiming down sight with a sniper rifle at one person and someone comes running by my reticle in the foreground, that my reticle will try to chase them instead of letting me
Right.
line up my shot.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
We'll
That's
see what they
classic.
do to it. Obviously, they're looking at it. They know it's an issue. They see the statistics that scout rifles aren't being used very often, right? So,
Right.
they're not just getting numbers and looking at games as far as hey, we saw this person overtake this person. They're actually looking at
Right.
real evidence that they can data mine, right? So, and they end the dev thing with the shotguns, saying, hey, look. We understand that some of these shotguns are going outside of their range, to say the least. I mean, I know I was literally shooting somebody with my auto rifle, and they're running at me with a shotgun. They put one into me. They're still running. The stopping power basically that's in that auto rifle, slowing them down a bit. But they're a good distance, and then they
Yeah.
shoot another one, and they can kill me. It happened a few times this week, and it's just. It is a little bit aggravating. It's like, hey, that shotgun shouldn't even be close to me. So,
Right. Is there anything in the notes about latency? Because I noticed a lot of weird post-mortem kills in PvP that don't seem to be accurate.
Well, the thing that I found that it's hard. I think it's hard to rationalize for some people is that there's a lot of area effect in some like sustained effect in among the classes, and as you see these classes ranking up, like my Titan, I have an option to produce more damage area effect damage that's sustained from my punch, right? So when I melee somebody, I might die, but they're charged up with this static from the punch that will continue even after I'm dead.
Yeah, it's like a dot. It's like a dot.
Right.
So
I actually think they should look at those numbers because, like, the Titan grenade that pulsates, I'm not sure which one that is, but some of the grenades just seem like they stick around too long. And I think it's because they're thinking in their mind, it's like, well, it has to be viable for PvP, and then it also has to be viable for PvE. And the PvE and PvP numbers can't match, because what you would need for it to be worthwhile in a PvE setting is you need a bigger, longer, sustainable damage source than you do in PvP. PvP,
Right.
if something is lasting, let's say in PvE, if something hangs around for 2 seconds, in PvP, it should be half of that at least.
Well, and here's the problem with that, and I don't want Bungie to be listening to this podcast at all, because my Titan has a pulse grenade that pulsates, right? And then I increase the damage on it, which is one of my options, and then I increase the duration of it as well. So I can sit there and throw my pulse grenade at a point on the map, and it will sit there for about 6 seconds before it goes away. And that's an eternity. I use it to close off doors when I'm running through, and
well, it's very effective.
Right, and then my Fist of Havoc, the Titan ground pound, that lasts for 6 seconds as well. So I can drop it on a position and keep running, and nobody can take that position because the ground is boiling with electricity. So I think I know what you're talking about, but I really use it effectively, so I don't.
Right. I know none of us would want things. I mean, I know some people would say, because I play Hunter, some people would say, oh, nerf the Blade Dancer. Every class has that thing where people are like, hey, nerf this. This is way too strong. And I don't think everything is just way too strong. I just think when you take it from a PvE and then to PvP, some of the numbers need to be tweaked, and things should work a little different in PvP than they do in PvE, because, like I said, just from my experience, like with your grenade, I mean, as a hunter, I can't stand in your grenade. I mean, if it pulsates on me twice, I'm dead.
Right.
I can't even.
I love watching that from the death
and it'll
screen.
Pulsate for. I can't run through that door because it'll pulsate twice before I get through there. And
right. So I sit there in the death screen because I just got golden gunned, right? And you run in to take the point, and I just watch you die. It's great.
Right.
Well, I mean, I think, for me, I have found myself where I don't throw my nade as much in PvE as I do in PvP, right? I don't. I mean, I throw it, if there's mobs, right, I'll throw it. But I'm not as, I guess, coherent about using my nade in PvE as I do in PvP. So it's an interesting thing to bring up, Nolxero, that the nades would be different, or at least cut the time based on where you're at, right? So you can cut it in half or whatever.
There's actually a simple solution, I think, that they may put in place, and that's my legendary and exotic, or my exotic armor and legendary armor adds extra. It allows me to double dip. My helmet allows me to double dip on my striker class. The Helm of Innermost Light allows me to do multiple double dip in some of the columns. So I can carry that into PvP, and that's sort of OP. I think that, even though I love it, I think that one simple solution would be that your exotic armor does not carry its extra buffs into the PvP world.
Well, here's the deal about that, though. I know the helmet you're talking about, and it's the fact that no matter what, it has death from above on it. So no matter how you set up your Titan, you have death from above, which is basically, for everybody out there that doesn't know what that is, that's where you jump high in the air, and then you basically target and shoot like Superman down to the ground. And so that's on that helmet no matter what you pick. So you can pick any other setup you want, and basically you have almost like having an extra token in your tree to use. But the downfall to that helmet is that if you're not running Striker, that's pointless. That helmet extra ability is pointless. So, like, for instance, when Zer came to town this weekend, what I was rating and debating on was, okay, do I grab the armor piece that's there and then get rid of my helmet, because since you can only wear one exotic armor piece at a time, do I get rid of that and grab the chest piece and get rid of my helmet and grab a purple helmet that I have in my bank, so that I'm effective. I'm effective on both sides with my exotic as far as using both my subclasses. But for me, what I ended up weighing was, hey, look, I'm going to play striker 90% of the time, right? Because I play with you, Pope, and a lot of times if we need a defensive class, then you play that class,
right?
And I'm playing striker. So, obviously the ability Death from Above isn't my favorite, but it's a good helmet, so I kept it. But I think that's one cool thing that we're going to have to start weighing, and we're going to see more of, is different exotics are going to have maybe a bonus on it that's like, oh man, check that out, it's an extra bonus in my tree. But it might be like, for instance, with the Hunter, it might be something for Golden Gun, but it's not for Blade Dancer.
Well, here's the thing though. Like, isn't it? There's all these in all the complaints, and I want to stop. I want to stop and make sure that we're not saying. I'm not complaining about this game. I'm spending an exorbitant amount of time, and I'm enjoying the hell out of it.
I need to sleep more.
I would
But
consider what we're talking about right now as constructive criticism.
right,
Yes.
but here, this conversation that we just had right here about strategies for teammates using different types of classes, armor pieces, and weapons. Isn't that what Bungie is wanting us to do?
Absolutely.
Isn't that what this is all about? And this is exciting stuff. I love sitting here and strategizing. It reminds me almost of a simple version of my old AD&D days, where you would strategize your team before you went out on a quest. So I like that they're bringing this into first-person shooters, because those guys out there who have played games like this have experienced this and know it. This is something that has been completely devoid in first-person shooters, and I love the fact that I get to talk to you guys about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. It adds a whole different dimension to it that it just kind of hit me, right? Is like, hey, this helmet's not doing anything for my defensive class. It's not doing nothing for it. But that's going to be the weight, right? And it's like, oh crap, I already used all my shards to level that up. Right. So I now I got to go find the other shards. So this is the looting game they want you to play.
Right.
This is the looting game they actually made and created for a reason and installed for the end game, is for you to have different setups, right? And for you to weigh, hey, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. Oh man, I need to go get shards. Oh man, I need to go farm for this to make my armor piece that is for my Blade Dancer better, because all my stuff, I already have my set for my Golden Gun. So that's the game they're trying to create. And every patch and every note that came out this week, that's what they're pushing forward to.
Right.
And that was just something that dawned on me. It's like, wait a second, this isn't helping me out. And and I got to talk to Nolxero more about it, and he's like, dude, this is exactly what Diablo 2 was really good at, right? It is like creating your different set pieces and being able to have them for your different characters. So, after the dev notes this week, they came out with the hot fix that was basically what I mentioned earlier, fixing all the other whatever you want to call it, breaks or flaws, exploits, whatever, as far as the items go, the cave, the well-known cave and everything else. So they had a list of those that they came through, and they gave those to us on I believe that was Thursday. Then the Bungie update came out on Friday, and basically allowed us to know that Savage was back this weekend, which was so awesome, and I've loved playing it with Pope and Nolxero. And then also we got the Iron Banner date, which is October 7th through the 14th. So
I'm excited for that.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be fun for everybody to kind of see where they're at, right? Because right now everybody's judging each other by level. But just because you have more light does not mean that you're going to be stronger or better.
Right. Well, I was a 28, now I'm a 27 because I switched my helmet to the new exotic that Zer had.
Well, and for instance, I have a pair of arms that I have legendary arms that I use most of the time that are for increased reload for scout rifles, but I have blues that I switch to when I play PvP because it gives me quicker reload for my auto rifles. You know, so it's going to be very interesting to see how this weighs out when we go to the Iron Banner and play, you know, with everybody's own statistics.
Right.
So, you know, that was interesting. That was basically the main thing. They came through here and talked about the different sounds and everybody enjoying the original soundtrack from Destiny, and obviously Paul McCartney, you know, doing all the work that he did on it, which, you know, is just, you know, everybody already knows this occurred, but, you know, that's part of how they've created this big game, right? I mean, from now, we might be a little sheltered by this, but from what I still see by, you know, IGN and Polygon and all this stuff, is that Destiny is still getting a lot of movement, a lot of, I mean, in fact, the other day on the IGN podcast, Beyond, you know, they said, look, you know, some people are complaining on their website, hey, what's all this stuff about Destiny still? It's already gone out, you know, we hate the game, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, well, we put out what our listeners want to see. Right. You know, what our readers read. So, you know, the hype is still real, man. It's still going strong, and I don't think it's dying down, even though it got all the you know, the half-butt reviews that it got, you know. And believe it or not, if you guys haven't read the IGN, and everybody out there, if you haven't read the IGN or looked at the IGN review, they gave it a 7.8, and I think it is the best explained review out on the market. And I'm not like some IGN fanboy or anything like that, but they did a fantastic job. Did they not, Nolxero? Talking about that.
When I read the review from IGN, I felt like they said everything I said on the podcast prior to seeing that. I was like, wow, they understand exactly what I'm playing, and they understand exactly how I felt about the game.
I think they're actually listening to the podcast and just writing their articles after we've talked.
In fact,
right.
Yeah.
Of course.
They actually can't afford to have Nolxero.
Right.
They've tried to offer it to him, but he just keeps resisting the desire to move to California from Texas. You know, because no one wants to move there from Texas. But the last thing we received was on Friday, the 1.0.2 patch preview, and I think this is the one that's most exciting for everybody, as Pope mentioned before. If nothing else, you take away from this week that they've brought out some stuff and they've made some changes to some stuff, you know, and they made it quick. I mean, look at on Tuesday, the Queen Bounty stuff came out, and you know, by Wednesday or Thursday they were already nerfing the shards that you got from her items. So
they're listening.
They're listening. They're watching. They're quick to respond. And as Pope hammered in the ground last episode, I mean, they want to make a game that we all enjoy and is fun and has a long life. They don't want us all to be level 30 right now.
Right. And I just want to say, we're not even a month into the game. You know what I mean? We're still right at the beginning, and not to rain on anybody's parade, but it's not Battlefield 4. You know, we're not at that stage where you're 8 months into the game and they're just now getting around to things that make the game playable. We're talking about a month in, and they've already made 5 or 6 huge changes to benefit the game. So I'm excited about where the game is headed.
Absolutely. All right, so obviously with all the patch notes and everything else that went on this week, and them talking, as we mentioned earlier, about celebrating and the glory of finishing up the raid, let's move on to Don't Talk Back, which will carry on the conversation of raiding.
I wanted to be your dad. What does that even mean? Don't you talk back to me, young man.
All right, so this week in Don't Talk Back, we're going to have a heated battle here, and I might have to get Hambone to jump in the middle and calm these guys down. But what we want to get to is if you're the first from your group of friends or from your fire team, say you've played this game basically with 2 or 3 guys the whole way through. You know, it's a couple guys that you always play with, or maybe even a couple more that you've played a lot of this game with, but you've played a little bit extra, a little bit more, and you've gotten through a lot of different levels. Is it okay for you to go ahead and move on and go start doing Nightfall or the raid? In the raid particular, without those party members and find some other dads or whatever that are in the group and go do it with them. Is that an exceptional thing? Let's say as far as gaming friend code goes.
So I think it is, and I think what you have is you have a opportunity to maybe meet new people and get a chance to reconnaissance, do a little reconnaissance for your group. And I think that going through the raid or the nightfall mission on your own time doesn't necessarily take away from that experience that you have with your friends later.
Well, Pope has a little laughter in his voice because this is funny because me and Hambone have been giving them a hard time because they left us out of the raid. And as me and Hambone sobbed and cried because we didn't get the white gear. What is that called? The white
shader. The
shader. Then we've been sad. So that's how we came with this topic. So that's why you hear Pope kind of fending off there at the end.
I would say I think that I agree that we should have waited with original party members that we had kind of had unspoken agreements with. I think everybody somewhere in the back of all of our minds, especially mine and Pope's when we did the raid, we could probably, if we step back for a second, thought about it, I think we probably would have said, hey, maybe we should be waiting for these guys and not doing it without them.
And I didn't pick this topic because I wanted you guys to feel bad. I really just picked it because I figured that there's probably some other people out there that have played a game. I mean, there's quite a few people that we've run into, right, that are groups of 3 or 4 that these guys always play together.
We had a raid team. We had a successful raid team, and we were going in there, and we were going to get it. We were going to get it done. And so, I think that to me, it was I could experience the raid. I could go in there. I could find out what was going on, and then I could share those with you. But I just think that a lot of this is that if you're moving ahead of your group, right? And they're still lingering back. Maybe they're not high enough level yet to play these events. If you don't, and the raid's maybe not a good example, but for example, the Queen's Wrath. If you wait too long, you're going to lose out on that opportunity, right? And so some of this is
a timing thing.
Right. And some of it is like, if I don't jump on it and complete it, and wait for you noobs, right? What am I going to get? I'm going to, the shader and the weapon, everyone's going to have it already. It's not going to be fresh. So you can wait for your party members, but I don't think it's necessary.
Another component, especially over on the Savvy forum, is that guys don't want to do the raid with guys that have already done it. You know what I mean? That's one of the big things, that they want to experience the raid for the first time with their teammates. And we had actually already started the raid a week prior with you guys, and I'm actually the highest rated guy in the group. I'm a 29, so I'm just saying the noob comment doesn't fall over
This
here.
is not personal. This is not personal. This is not personal.
It sure sounds a hell of a lot personal. Hey, no, Brian. Would you be happy if I just went into my character right now and deleted the shader that I got for completing the raid? The grand reward that I got for completing the raid was a shader.
And like I said, I want to bring this up because I want other people to think about the people they play with. And not that I'm right and not that Pope's wrong or Pope's right and I'm wrong. Whatever it is, I think it might be applicable to whatever group of people you play with, right? But and some people might say, just go ahead and play on whatever, and when I get on, you play it again with me. Remember, as Dads of Destiny and as Dads of Destiny members, our goal here is to find other people to play with, number one, and number two, play when we can, because everybody understands that when we're dads, right? And when we're husbands, we're husbands, and sometimes we can play and sometimes we can't. And so just remember, hey, you might have a commit that you've played with a lot of people before, and just make sure that everybody knows and understands on the same page. Hey, look, man, I'm playing when I can play. You're playing when you can play. Hopefully 90% of the time we can play together. But if there are those times that we can't play together, let's understand that's cool, right? Because I'm going to do things you guys aren't going to do. Like today, I came home from work early and played the sick card, right? And I'm not feeling well, and I came home at 2 o'clock. And yeah, I got some destinitis, and I played for 4 or 5 hours, right, before Pope got on. So, it's different stuff. But that's why I brought this topic up.
It's one of those things where if you go out and we do the raid together, which we obviously wanted to do, but when we were unsuccessful because you kept dying, I had to find better players.
Oh my goodness! Here we go with it, man.
That's just how it works sometimes. Is that you get dropped from the A squad?
Nolxero, can you believe this guy, man?
You get dropped from the A squad.
Can you believe this guy? Oh my goodness!
Talks a lot of smack. That's for sure.
Yeah, he sure does, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of good that this went more personal than just our overall feelings, because I think it also kind of varies depending on like who it is. Obviously, like for me and TwoLoud, it's a lot different because TwoLoud is like my closest friend. So what it means between me and him is completely different than what it means between you and Pope. So I just think that everybody, whenever you're doing these activities, I would really just kind of emphasize what your relationships are with these people and just take a step back. I mean, if you think about their feelings in a situation, you'll your people better than anybody else. So you'll know how to react with your people and how to interact with them.
Well, and like I said, this is probably a more serious conversation and one that we'll ever have on this podcast, because most of the time we're laughing and joking up, but it's just something that when we were talking about
thing.
When we were talking about don't talk back. Yeah, and look, we're all here at Dads of Destiny. We're all making relationships, right? And we're all becoming friends. I mean, I've met tons of people through Dads. In fact, Kyle the Anxious, which we refer to as Kyle the Assist, so everybody knows, because he's always assisting me and Pope. But he even said the other day, he said his wife was joking with him. He's like, your best friend is TwoLoud and Pope. So. We're making relationships, and that's why we're here, and we have fun doing it, and we have fun playing the game, and so that's why this topic was brought up, because it is a real thing, like Pope said, and there are going to be times that maybe somebody thinks, hey man, I thought you were going to do that with me. Obviously, we just want to make sure that that you guys continue to have great gaming experiences. So, well. With that done and said, let's move on to story time.
And now it's time for Stories from the Tower. Stories that come from you, to us, and back to you. Be prepared to laugh at time, or 3, or 2.
All right, so today's topic is from the group forum on the DoD main forum page, and it's from our very own TwoLoud here, and it's titled Breast Milk. You try it? So the post reads as follows. Okay, I recently had this conversation with my brother and best friend who is a part of DoD, and I thought it would be fitting for our group. I have an 8-week-old, so that's how this got started. Have you guys ever tried your wife's or girlfriend's breast milk? Would you say it's sweet or bitter?
Now, given this is more for the appropriate, so we probably should have put a disclaimer at the beginning of this. But if you have little children, you may not want them to hear this section. But it is very comical. So continue on.
Okay, so I'm just going to read some of these responses that we get, and they are epic. The first one comes from Lemming Hunter, and he says, tried it out with our first and second. I remember it being bitter, but then I also remember her breast feeling like 2 bags of sand. That's a pretty good one.
That sounds like the 40-year-old virgin response.
Right? 2 bags of sand. They just feel like 2 bags of sand. You got another response here from Light Force, who says that he probably shouldn't have shown this post to his wife, and he is now grounded for a week. So, off the forums he is. And then the next one here we have is from SCHNYDZ, Schnines, I think is how you pronounce that. And he says, of my 30 years of playing video games, I never thought I'd see the day it intersected with breast milk. My wife would never believe me. So I thought that was pretty cool, too.
Oh, man. That's good stuff.
Okay,
man.
Here's another one from Tankalex, and he says, yes, I've tried it from 2 different women. Sweet in both instances. Though tasting breast milk wasn't what I was after. So I'm not sure where he was going with that, but it sounds like he knows what's up. So Yeah. Here's another one here from Eris69. He says, LOL, I only tried on accident a couple years ago. The well was not so dry.
But I want to know that. I want to know how it's an accident. Can you tell me that? Because there's a couple people in that post, and this post, guys, goes way back. I mean, this goes back to when we had, what Pope? We had like 200 or 300 members, maybe?
Yeah. Maybe that, yeah.
And so this Pope goes way back, and Glaciated, thanks so much for pulling it back out this week, because you pulled it back out, and I just laughed, man, reading some of these replies. But I want to know how a couple of these people, at least 2 or 3, said it was an accident that they tasted it.
Well, if they thought the wells were dry, I mean, if they didn't have any signs of production.
Well, I can tell you how it's an accident. Wake up in the morning, right? Your wife pumps at night, and she puts the bottles of extra juice in the fridge. And you wake up in the morning, you're half awake, half asleep. You're making your cup of coffee.
Don't tell me this is a personal story.
It happened, and so and I guess the truth of it is, when I'm sitting there staring at the fridge and there's no milk, ran out, and I can't drink my coffee straight. My stomach won't take it. A little breast milk in there cuts it just enough that you can drink it. So,
but apparently, POPEBEAR is not alone. Captain Marble 42 says he thinks it tastes like slightly watered down milk, and it was very good in his coffee. So apparently, POPEBEAR is not the only one to put breast milk in their coffee.
Oh man, you guys crack me up, man.
I actually honestly think it should be a new drink at Starbucks. You should be able to go there and order a breast milk latte. Am I the only guy here that thinks that?
My experience with breast milk is that it tastes like, I explain it as, it tastes like after you eat a bowl of cereal, like Fruity Pebbles or Fruit Loops, it would taste like that milk.
Oh. That's interesting.
You got Hambone interested.
Hambone's like, now I'm interested. That sounds good. That sounds real good.
Can I get a gallon?
I gotta read this one. I gotta read this one to you guys. This is from Noel225, and this one got me. It says he's yet to try it. It kind of weirds me out just getting it on me. But in response to the sweet or bitter, my girlfriend informed me the other day that apparently one breast is sweet milk and the other one is sour, which I must admit blew my mind. I have a friend who had booby juice squirted into his coffee secretly for days after suggesting his partner should try harder to lose pregnancy weight. Poor guy never knew, and to this day still doesn't. Needless to say, whenever there's a little friction between me and my missus, I make sure to make my own drinks. I thought that was pretty awesome.
Oh man, that's too funny. And for all you guys out there that are wondering, is one really sour and one really sweet? I don't know. Okay, I can't say yes or no to that. All I can say is my wife, and the reason why this post come up is because my wife is very, very big into breastfeeding our children, and like I said, I have a 4-month-old that she's tending to right now, and she is very interested in being a lactation consultant one day, and this is just one of those things that she's been really into. So I've heard a lot about it, over the past few years, and she tells me that they're supposed to offer each breast to the baby after they eat because one is like dessert and one's like the main meal. So is it true? I don't know. That's what I'm being told. I don't go look up these articles. I don't get this information because necessarily I'm looking for it, but because my wife shares it with me. So,
did you just say dinner and dessert? I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. You said dinner and dessert. Okay.
Well, you know what? To be honest with you, isn't that true for all men? Isn't one dinner and one dessert?
I guess so.
I mean, you get one and you're like happy. You just ate a meal, sustenance, right? But if you get enough time to enjoy both, isn't the other one naturally dessert? You're in like quality time right now.
This is the part of the show where the dads turn off the podcast while the child is in the car.
Like, what in the world are they talking about?
Oh, man, it's too funny. It's too funny. Well, guys, continue to post up on the forums. Also, send your stories to us via email, and Nolxero can let you guys know how to do that.
All right, so the only email we had back this week was read by POPEBEAR at the beginning. We wanted to let him read that one at the beginning because it pertained to his beer selection and everything, so we appreciate the email there. Also, you can get us back at feedback.dod@gmail.com. Continue to send stories there. We've gotten a lot of decent feedback from people. We really appreciate all the feedback that we do get. Some people have kind of given us suggestions on things to change and things that they love, and we really appreciate those things. But continue to send us feedback, and that's it for feedback this week.
And we hope you've enjoyed the show. Make sure you rate us on iTunes. Make sure that you visit dadsofdestiny.net. Pope, thanks so much for announcing that last week. Is that going well? You guys getting a lot of hits over there?
You know, the website is doing really well. It's getting a lot of traffic right now. I'd like to make sure that everybody knows that our partnership with Guardian Radio is linked through there. We have all of our services linked through there. YouTube channel, Twitch channel, Twitter. It should be your one-stop shop. If there's one link that you should post or get a bookmark to your phone or to your desktop computer, it's that one, and you can find all of the DoD stuff there.
Yeah, and if you guys have any issues or you encounter anything with the website, definitely let us know as well, right, Pope? I mean,
absolutely.
It's still kind of in beta test per se.
Right. There's a couple things on the back end that we need to kick the tires on and finish up, but our own Deep Fried Dave is working diligently with our web designers and getting that all cleaned up. But we're seeing a lot of good traffic, and I'm really proud of what we were able to accomplish.
And follow us on Twitter at Dads of Destiny. You can also look us up on Facebook at Dads of Destiny. You guys can go directly to our YouTube page and our Twitch page. That's twitch.com/Dads of Destiny, youtube.com/Dads of Destiny. All this stuff is made simple and easy to get to through the dadsofdestiny.net website. So make sure you go there, and you can follow me at TwoLoud, that's TwoLoudtx, and Nolxero at Nolxero, and POPEBEAR.
It's Pope at Pope _BEAR at _bear.
And Mr. Hambone, what about yourself? How can people come and follow you?
Oh, they can follow me at The Real Hambone. That's going to be DAREAL Hambone 1.
And make sure you guys also check out GuardianRadioNetwork.com for tons of other great podcasts and videos. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, see you later, alligator.
After a while, crocodile.
Take care, polar bear.
And toodaloo, kangaroo.